every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden messages.
We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensibilia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.
Welcome to another edition of the Adam Dunn Show. I am your host, Adam Dunn. Yes, we're late. I'm sorry, Nick. Sorry, bro. You know, sometimes shit's got to get fucking done, but no, we're here. We're live. We're right here with you. I got Kyle and Kyle in the studio. Everyone knows KTI, even though he's trying to bite my style with the beard right now.
Always.
You're like finally part of the... Yes.
It's part of the internship.
I know.
You gotta have the beard.
It's all happening around me.
Just missing the gray hair.
I got super tight cut Kyle over here from Key to Life, where you can maybe notice that we're here in the Key to Life studios. I also had a complaint the other day. I did the fateful mistake of actually reading comments sometimes, and this guy was like, "Adam, man, when you talk way high, way low, way high." Do I do that?
Nah, man.
I mean, I don't think I'm that bad.
I
know I have a shitty voice.
NTSG.
I know I have a shitty voice. I've always had a shitty voice. I hate my voice. Everybody hates their own voice, but I really hate my own voice. So I'd never listen to the show after the fact to know if I do that. So please tell me all the annoying things I do. I probably won't read it, but I did happen to read that one comment, and I was like, oh, man, I have to go back and actually listen how bad I really sound. Could be his equipment that he's on, too.
The thing I've noticed is that the beginning of the show, you'll start out real strong, and then about 2 or 3 hours in, it's like, you're talking like this.
Oh, that might be it. I'm faded by that time. Yeah, well, it's part of the job, right?
That's the only thing I noticed. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's part of the job.
I mean, I hope this shit's working, right? I don't want to think I'm invincible. And then, Kyle mentioned that every single time it's what's Adam smoking, and I never answer that question. So today I'm smoking what looks like old school hash right there. Amazing. It's one's like a Nepalese, it's not. one's like an Afghani, it's not. And one's like, this one's actually the same as that. And I have a Moroccan version also. And the funny part with this shit is, I literally, when I was cleaning out my seed, I was de-seeding stuff, I always put a screen at the bottom as the seeds fall out, so they fall in the thing. And in the end, I get some hash, and it's never great hash because it's coming off of my seed bracts, right? So I usually never know what to do with it. So either throw it in some edibles or something. Anyway, this time I just wrapped them up into parchment paper, kind of little bindly things, threw them into a mason jar, and I just fucking forgot about it. And then a year later, I opened it up.
A year later?
I swear to God, like a year later, I'm cleaning out this thing, and I was like, oh, look at this. What's in here? And it popped the top, so it was really like there's some pressure on it. And fucking everything just went awesome, like black Nepalese style-y shit and sticky, and then more like an Afghani kind of style. Everything has its own colors. Like you can see, this looks kind of like looks like it's got that little brownie color in it there, which is nice. Yeah, this one's a little bit more greeny, right?
Right.
Can kind of catch, but amazing. I was like, you know what? If you just fucking leave it, does way better than all this manipulation. So I mean, the point being is, people over here always are like, man, if you get like that, because when you go to Holland, there's always a certain smell in the air. It's like it's not even about smoking it all. Smoking is good too. It's nice, but it's not like it's devastating. You can make really good hash that blows you away, and you could buy the best Moroccan hash and test it, and it'll get you really high, but it'll be like 7, 8, or 9. Nowadays they're using better material, but back in the day, it'd be like maybe the best would be 30%.
Yeah,
the best, and we got weed that's close to that. So, anyway, I found these things the other day, and I was all stoked because I was like, shit, nice. For like the last week, I think I've just been smoking hash. Nope. I mean, my rig is getting dusty in the corner. It's crazy.
So you said you didn't do that with water? How'd you do?
No, this is all dry sieve. That's the
dry
thing.
sieve.
Well, it's not even dry sieve. It's literally making seeds, grinding up the weed, pouring it into my thing, separating it, and as the seeds fall out of the separator, they go onto this thing. So it takes a lot of time to get it to even get anything, because it's like there's not even all the trim goes into the vacuum and get sucked away. So really, I'm just getting the tiniest bits at a time. So I don't even think about it. And then at the end of the day, I'll open it up and go, oh, okay, whatever. So this is like probably a couple different seed runs, and they all went in. Yeah. So.
Oh, okay.
But I like the fact that, you forget when with resin in itself, it inherently is it preserves itself. When you take any water hash, if I had a water hash for a year, it would have been shit.
Yeah.
Like you'd never see water hash that has any sort of integrity after a while. You know? So it's kind of like, it was like, made me really go like, you know what? I'm going to start doing that every fucking time. Just got to seal it and forget about it. Because if you try to, because I remember this stuff. I remember like probably this one is the why it's a little bit, even though it's blacker than the other one, when you open it up, you kind of see that little green hue to it. Yeah. Because I remember like, I was like, it's got a little green in it. Fuck that. I ain't going to smoke that. But now, a year later, it's like, tastes really good. So, little education, little hash education.
Well, the question is how does it smoke? I mean,
smokes good. Yeah. Listen here. I'll let you try some. And the thing is, it's really weird because I've had a couple of different Europeans come by since I found this thing, and every single one of them has just been like, it's like spot on selling.
Right.
Check that out.
Thank you, sir.
And besides all that, since I went on a tangent right out of the gate, this has been an incredible week here in Colorado, I have to say, because it's all harvest season around here, and everywhere I go are hemp fields of high CBD, low THC plants that are just fucking weed. There's no doubt about it. There's some stuff that you wouldn't know. I mean, I was shocked. I walked around my friend Gannon's field. He had about a 7.5 acre field, and I have to give props to the guys from Oregon CBD Seed Bank. Mm-hmm. Those guys are on point. So if you're looking for genetic,
they're putting a lot of work in.
Yeah, they were on point. Like there's a lot of variability within them as far as visuals go, but their numbers were on point. Like everything they said came out the way it's supposed to, and what I was really amazed on was their ability to really dial in on a good, like a feminized, without only one hermaphrodite out of 15,000.
Wow.
7 males.
Wow.
That's fucking amazing. I was like, and they,
with if you can do that and still maintain good CBD numbers, that's the key.
Yeah, they have definitely locked it in properly. I was like, well, fuck, hats off, because I was a bit nervous because I went there maybe a month ago, and I was like, dude, these have got to go hot. They already look good then,
Mm-hmm.
And he had just gotten beat down by a hailstorm at that time, so. But even through the hailstorm, those plants survived well. And he had I think 4 varieties from them, and they're selling them at $1 a piece, and there's no discounts. So and you got to have your certification to actually get them, so they're doing everything correct. I'll have to give so hats off to those guys. And if you're looking for some CBD, testimonials, their numbers they were right on point. I mean they say 1 in 4,000.
Wow.
Is their average, and they had 15,000, and they had 7 in the end. So it was pretty close.
That's great. That's really really great.
So I have to go. I have to definitely say, if you're interested in that kind of genetics, hit them up. Then I went and checked out the genetics from you guys over at the what's his name's place?
Brady's.
Brady's, exactly. And that was beautiful. That was even. It was crazy because so my guys put 26. My friends put 2,600 on an acre. Mm-hmm. He put 1,100 on an acre.
Yeah.
Theirs were much more different because they were all different strains, and there was a lot of variability.
Right.
His were all clones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And but his were completely and utterly packed in tight, touching in every side. There was no waste of space. I was pretty amazed.
It's crazy when you look at a field like that and you show somebody the video of a field like that.
I think, didn't I send you that last time, or did I give you that one last time? I got some pictures. Hold on.
Of what, the hemp?
That one hemp field. Which one was that? That was.
That was.
I think that was that one.
Yeah, I think it was.
Because it was when Mario was.
I can pull him up.
Oh no, it was the same when Mario was here. So my guest Mario from Canada, right? Because we went over there together.
You want me to pull it up?
Sure, if you got it, that's even better.
Yeah. So when you look at a field like that and you tell people that there's 4 foot by 4 foot spacing in that field, they're like, no way. Like it looks like they're 6 inches apart.
I know. Yeah, and that was the thing. They really just nailed it. How long? So you were at that plant. They go, or how early do they go with that? Because here it's so hard to grow early. I mean,
So this year actually they ended up going a little bit late this year, just not intentionally, but they're ideally they wanted to get in about 3 or 4 weeks. About 3 or 4 weeks before they were in. But he just he wanted a really really good consistent crop. He did a lot of just a really really clean picking of plants.
no, I could tell. It was definitely one of the most organized. And again, like I said, the spacing was like, you're like, really? Because those things are packed in there. So he did a really good job.
Yeah, the bilateral growth is dumb.
I'm curious to see, because the numbers he was talking about were just 4 times the normal average. So I was like, that may be a little much to push, but definitely double, if not. I mean, I'm thinking they might hit 4,000 pounds. It would be that would be double of what most people are hitting right now.
Right, exactly.
So, and if he gets what he was expecting to do, I don't even know if I should say it, but
that's the thing is we're kind of hesitant to even like tell somebody what he's thinking about really. And but if it's true, if we can get that harvest report and really show that numbers and show consistency and all that stuff.
And that was all cherry times what?
It's original cherry.
It's just straight cherry. Okay.
Yeah.
And that was so I think about a 16%, maybe something like that.
At its highest, we've seen that test over 20%, up in the high 24s.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. It gets up there. Look at it. You look at a field like that and you tell me that's CBD. You know what I mean? Like people, that's a THC cannabis field. Like look at the cola structure. Look at the.
Well, it's the reality, though, that as everyone knows, it's like the number one question. What is it? The difference? And it's like, well, it's not really any difference. It's fucking the same plant. It's just a different makeup. So people have to there's people who think hemp is all males, or they think it. And you're like, no, of course it's not all.
There's
males.
A lot of weird stereotypes out there, man.
But Colorado has created almost its own little type in a sense, because before this, even because a lot of the European strains, they were really kind of coming out of fiber strains, as far as CBD things. Cannatonic being one of the few that was more like this type. This is a type what, F3 or something?
It's an F3.
No,
F4.
not the F3, but I'm saying they have type 1, type 2, type 3. I forgot. Now I'm already. Say type 1 is THC, high THC.
Yep.
Type 2 is CBD. Whatever. Every day is a new thing.
Every state has changed it on a monthly basis. It almost seems like it. Yeah, I just saw a report this morning. California is reconsidering classifying CBD. That's just really exciting stuff.
Oh, good. In a good way. Okay, you never know. I never know if it's a good or bad. Is it a good thing?
In a good way.
Really?
Yeah.
They're gonna classify?
No, in a good way. In a good way. It's gonna be. It's cool stuff.
Yeah, you know what? I think there's 19 states right now growing hemp, and that's only in 5 years ago was the first crop from Ryan Laughlin, which he posted a thing today. It was kind of interesting because it was like 5 years ago, and I was like, really? That's so interesting. And we were out there right now, like today, because he just posted his little memory, and it was all of us out there harvesting by hand. And I mean, it's cool to watch the progression, because when they're all young and sprouts and you see it all coming, but then you get hailed on and you get this and you get pigweed, and we really saw how the part you have to deal with as a farmer here, because it takes a bit more than just throwing some seed out, and so that year it was pretty. The first year with Ryan was definitely a learning curve. There was we drove up and we were all excited, and it's like, kind of looking around, so where's all the hemp at, And it was like, yeah, it's there, you see it. And then it was like patches that actually kind of came into, okay, there. And so it was like a lot of it just got overgrown because, again, it was that pigweed that grows down there in the southeast. And I've seen online enough crops, like out in Tennessee, I saw something, and it was like, you could see they were never going to finish.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, so that's today, and but there's some areas that actually might, because they have their little dry and wet season.
Right.
I mean, in North Carolina, you're fighting the wet also, so there's a lot of stuff going on there. But Colorado has a unique position because we're up on a plateau, but at the same time, it's harsh here too, you know.
Absolutely, you know that's a thing too. You know, like as THC varieties are the same way. You know, some prefer certain environments. So you know, as we really get into this game, you know, we really get the research behind it. We're gonna find out which ones are the ones who are gonna be the producers where.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, most people think of it as a tropical plant. It's like it's not at all a tropical plant. You know, it's like it's a more arid.
Yeah.
It'll work in every condition,
Right.
pretty much. It'll adjust itself,
Right.
and you will get those, you know, plants that will grow in those conditions. But for the most part, like they kind of like it a little more arid, you know. So,
Yeah.
and it's really nice to see the hemp, like, and I have to put it in quotations always, like the hemp, you know, that hemp stuff, because if they were growing I mean, fiber hemp is really actually. There's actually nobody in the States yet really going in that angle, you know, and that's the next big step, which is funny because as we move up the ladder, it's like people don't have a very short sight, right? So first it's cannabis, right? So all these money people are like, ooh, cannabis, how can we invest in cannabis, right? So they're all like thinking about the flower that they see the guy selling on the street, like, hey, you sell flower, right? And they're like, no. You sell pens. Oh, so now that's like the next step up the ladder, and you just keep moving up. But what they don't realize in the first part is that that's all the recreational, which is like, you know, small, because you can only produce so much, a lot of regulation, all this other bullshit. Then you start to look at hemp, and you go up to, well, like let's go move it up to the next step, which would be the hemp, the quotation. So then everybody's on that tip right now. Like that's the fucking what? I mean, every day.
How much CBD can I get my hands on right now?
And how much isolate can I? I need 20,000 kilos a week.
We call that hunting unicorns around here.
It is 100%. And I literally have requests for that amount right now that I don't even like. Why even answer it? It's like, stop. Like you guys don't understand. It doesn't exist. I mean, it does, but globally, you know, and not that 20,000. There's definitely super labs. There's 6 super labs right now producing about 200,000 kilos a year, and then there's a bunch of ancillary ones. But those are like the ones that are kicking out the weight.
Well, and not to
But
mention
they've already got all contracts already up. So.
Not to mention there was only so much biomass that was created in the United States last year. You know, I mean, like the biomass that it would take to create 200,000 kilos a week or something. You know, like I mean, it's like it would take train loads. You know what I mean? On the daily.
I know, just to even like, you know, to give people a sort of perspective, it's like, you know, something between. Depending on the quality of the material, of course, because that's that's why we're trying to grow high CBD strains. But let's say between 350 and 500 pounds to produce 10 kilos, you know, and so 10, because if you say 1 kilo, they don't quite get it, but say 10 kilos. Right. So you're like, okay, so it's about a 450 to 1, you know, and then you start to go, okay, I need 10,000. You're like, okay, now really, you know, and how long does it take to grow, you know, and so we're definitely at the outstripping any kind of demand right now.
Well, not to mention, like, we're finding people don't even know how to harvest the stuff on a commercial scale yet. You know, I mean, are we going to combine? Are we going to, God forbid, hang dry and hand do all this stuff? You know what I mean? Like, that's not, that works to an extent, but not on a commercial scale to produce that type of weight that we're talking about here.
And even the so-called sort of automated ways are, I mean, they're out of people's reach mostly, you know, with the vacuum dryer that's, you know, 40 foot long, but for the most part everybody is, I mean, most people are stripping by hand, or they are you know, like building a machine or whatever.
We're seeing a lot of people that had tobacco farms using tobacco techniques, you know, because that's basically that type of system is set up for that. It's basically a base harvested plant that's hung in what's considered a crude drying facility, which is basically a glorified barn with vents in the side of it. Sure. And you know, then that's how they're curing their product. And then you know, on the other hand, there's people that are combining and wet rolling it in the field. There's people that are, you know.
Yeah, I've heard people doing that already with hemp, and I'm like, wow, that's so sad.
Yes. I know.
It's so sad. Like,
I know.
Do you really think that you're not losing so much in the process of doing, like, it's just this.
Well, then you're picking up rocks and you're picking up dirt with it, and you're trying to send that to the processing. Like, who wants to process stuff with dirt and rocks in it?
Yeah.
I mean,
it's definitely some major mistakes along the way, and it's always in the handling. Doesn't matter if it's with a giant combine or whatever. So back to my little chart of where we're going up the ladder. So here we are all in this CBD zone right now. We're all excited. We're growing massive amounts. barely able to keep up, right? Or not even able to keep up.
Right.
So, but what people don't really get is that that's nothing compared to the next level up, which is the real industrial hemp that would be for non-exciting things. And that's the reason why nobody wants to venture into that area. They're like, so do we really want to grow just thousands of acres of stuff we can't smoke, or or imagine, or just look at crystals, or what I mean? And I always think that there's no reason, if we can get past the point where everything has to be in those little zones. Like if there could be no limit on the amount of CBD grown on an industrial level, then you could definitely develop that plant. Maybe not, THC might be pushing the envelope a little bit. Like we want it all. Of course, I would want that. I would want the
Right.
I'd rather have the equal proportion 10%er.
Right. The true multi-use crop.
You know what I mean?
You're
And
getting
then-
10% TBD, 10% THC. You're getting good stem tissue that you can turn
exactly.
into fiber. You can
Good for everything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
That would be like the pinnacle of the top of the heap right there. Probably won't let us do that because they'd be too scared. But even if you got 3%, something that's useful, so
Right.
because 3% of a fucking billion is always something good.
So
So you're like,
so we're actually talking with a couple people that are involved with hemp legislation in Africa, and they're toying around with the idea of making their minimum or maximum requirement for THC 1%. To leave that window open a little bit more, to try, to kind of push CBD's level a little bit higher, things of that nature. So that's a really cool way to look at it. Yes, there is obviously this maximum that we want to keep underneath. There's this, like where it's not going to affect you type, where it's safe to quote grow. You're not going to worry about some kid going out in the field
Sure.
and hacking it down, and smoking it or something like that.
well,
to
10%
get
would actually
high.
be higher than a lot of bushweed that's out there. 'cause
That's
usually
what I mean. Like if we're at 1%,
Yeah.
even though it's not.
Well, one is pretty
0.3.
much like most of the tropical regions have a 1% threshold, just
Right.
because the plants tend to creep up a little bit. So
Exactly.
And
they got a lot of phosphorus in their soil that you just can't get away from that.
there you go. I mean, that's also maybe part for sure. So they, it's like 1% is a pretty cool number because you can actually get terp profiles that are really interesting out of that.
Absolutely.
And then it does become, like you could use it for a tobacco substitute, things like that, and actually, keep it within the zone that it's quote unquote safe or whatever. But probably as good. I mean, definitely better for you than tobacco. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I bet you can find a few that get out of that zone. Because the thing about most of these hemp varieties is there's a couple different smells. You know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
not it's not as complicated because it seems like they're all heavy in certain zones, and
Right.
you're like, like especially when you see it dry, like you're like, oh, dude, I know so many people who bought weed that was definitely hemp back in the day.
Yeah.
You're like, I know that smell. That's that smell of that Pretendica shit that people would get or
The
whatever.
Pretendica.
For sure. Oh, it's a weird kind of a generic. It's almost like how
It's almost like a dusty sort of
yeah, it's like a weird generic smell though too.
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, oh, okay, that's just and what's interesting too is I had a barrel of CBD weed from that Rob Clark gave me from Marijuana Bonnie, Rob Clark. So he came to me one time because we had our shop there and everything, and he's like, "Hey boys, check this out!" And he like opens up this big barrel and it's just full of giant buds, and it was all a little bit old, and you could tell they had that funky color,
Yep.
and it had that same exact smell.
Yep.
And we were all like, "Whoa, what's this?" And he's like, "Not a drop of THC in there, boys." This is like 93 or something.
Right.
We're like, what? So our brains were like, it's not possible.
Does that even exist, bro?
Yeah, we're like, this can't be. And it literally, I kept that barrel for stunt weed. We used to use it all the time for
nice.
if we needed to do some back, like instead of having to bring out all the good weed and fuck
Yep.
it all up,
Yep.
we just make a pile of weed and like, phew, we got, so we used it
And
as
it's really weed too.
it was, and people would, and every time we'd pull it out, people would take it and probably get a headache or whatever. But it was just funny because it was like, it was just that one barrel. We could never get it again. I was like, so people would borrow it. Hey, you got that stunt weed? And I'd be like, oh yeah, stunt weed, sure. Having a party, we need a big fake pile of weed somewhere. And then then you weren't like, no, it was pretty funny. It was like but we made hash out of it. We tried everything with it. We're like, you got, and we didn't really even understand what CBD or anything because Rob was also the first person that I know who had isolate and he was showing us and we were like, what the fuck? It doesn't even it's like that's pure 99.8% or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're like, huh? And
you can't do that.
Yeah, well, it just was like, what? This is, and then, but then he also educated us at that moment about the fact that of the entourage effect without ever knowing. He just said, I remember him distinctly going like, well, the CBD don't, like the THC obviously works, but the CBD on its own, not really. But when you tap them together, you get like a much better effect. Like all of a sudden they enhance each other in their own little weird way.
Right.
And so we kind of, had this visual because he got to see it once, and then it was just like, okay, that's
what that could be. Yeah.
Did you ever finish this thing?
Oh no, yeah, I just took a hit off. Go ahead.
Go, come on, guys. You're just slacking on me over
My
here.
bad. I didn't realize
I
I
had
was
to read the
finish it
comments.
and go.
Kyle's not reading the comments. He doesn't care. He doesn't even care. Look
Hi,
at
Jay.
No,
Pipe Pit. Aloha.
Pipe Pits. That's what I said.
Hi, Mike. You.
No, you didn't have to read them all. I wasn't saying that. It's okay, Kyle. I just was checking.
What are you smoking on?
What are you smoking? Exactly. What are you smoking on? We don't know. Old. I think one of them was a banner, actually, which is kind of funny.
A little throwback.
A little throwback, yeah. Never have that again, I guess.
Number 3 or 5.
And then one of them was Underdog. That was a greenish one, I think. This darky one. Was it darky? Did I say darky? Dude, getting in trouble now. But it's got a little tinge, but
You should talk about what you were saying about how the bounce is really what makes good hash. The old bounce trick. I learned something today.
Well, back when hash was hash, kids, let me tell you, I used to always use it by sort of a sound and a bounce, because the good resin would be like hard, like you'd roll it up, it'd be nice, it would be soft enough to roll, and then usually let it sit out for a second so it can not be affected by the heat. So you let it sit and then cools down. You drop that and it bounces, right? And that one didn't. And to me, even though this one is stickier and whatever, it means
waxier.
It means it has more fiber in it, like more plant material. And this one has more heads in it and is a little bit tighter. And it's like the heads are actually more like they bond, stay like they'll become strong. And then all the little fibery kind of bits create a little bit of a cushion, and so you'd be like, I think I'd go for this one, So it was kind of like the easy way. Now, of course, you might be wrong sometimes. It might have just been shittier material overall, and that's when the terp part would come in or out. Affect with different things. But it was can't do it anymore because sorry, with water hash, it loses the integrity. This is just dry. So I think people are going to realize at a certain point, especially now that we're handling so much material, because the whole thing about making hash is you have to have a lot of material to make it work in your favor. If you have a little bit and you make a half a gram, well, that's it, whatever. You can't ever press it. And that's the other thing, too, is that everybody here is doing such small amounts, and even if they have a big amount, they need to break it up and sell it right away. So there's never a chance for it to sort of commingle. And the thing about hash in general is there's always an outside layer and an inside layer, and it's like there's a little chemical reaction happening there over time in some way, shape, or form. It's it's just like cooking. Right. It's like when you cook something. If you pulled it out of the oven and you eat it right away, it doesn't taste as good. If you let it sit, let it cool down, then eat it the next day or whatever, all the flavors mingle. It's kind of the same with the hash. Like if you rush it, you don't get that sort of thing. And I don't think a lot of the people who have made hash in America have, taken it to the next level as far as purity and whatever, but the magic might be, and that's what kind of I learned myself. I mean, I already kind of knew it, but relearned, I should say, is that you really got to let the shit sit. And then back in the day, there was always a season, right? So they would harvest it September, October, put it away, put it up in a barn, up in the fucking thing till January, February when it's really cold. Make it when it's cold, and then let it sit. Sometimes move it out, but usually it would let it sit for a little bit longer after that. And then it had to move somewhere. So it would go to A to B, to C to D, to E to F, to G, to H. And then finally, hey, I, and then to K, to Kyle. Kyle would be like, look at this piece of hash. It's been in three guys' butts, and it's been up a fucking camel's ass and across the desert.
It's good shit, man.
But it still tasted good, and it was fucking, people didn't give a fuck at that point where it came from.
Right.
They just wanted to get it. Nowadays, it's like never been touched by anybody. It's all fucking beautiful, and it smells great.
Yeah.
But kind of, I don't know. It's like, we're catching a certain part of the plant that nobody ever really did before because they didn't preserve it. But it's also like it does hurt your throat sometimes. A lot of terps are not really nice to like. Terps are very volatile. And the thing is, I like terps. We all like terps. But the more terpy it is, it seems like the more it kind of burns you. Because that shit's fucking like not supposed to be smoked at that point, in my opinion. I mean, fucking none of this like technically is supposed to be smoked, I guess, if you really want to look at we all think so, but theoretically, how often without us doing it would it happen, you know what I mean? So you'd catch a whiff here and there during a fire or something like that, but you wouldn't actually ever experience those, there'd be no reason to, like, we don't take limonene straight before this whole thing and go, hey, limonene's in weed, we should actually just smoke it pure, but now we are putting it in pens and we're doing extracts or whatever with it. But anybody who works with it knows it's fucking not really like the thing you would have chose to smoke on. It has a burny kind of quality to it and stuff. So I think we need to go back to the old school, do a lot more dry sieve. And part of it can just be moving weed from A to B, right? Like if I have a ton of weed and I got to get it across the room, there's no reason it should be like, just like, well, I should pour it over here and it should like run over to there. And by the time it gets over to there, at least that first little scoop, end of the day, lift it up, got yourself 10, you've moved a ton. Now you've got 50 pounds of fucking awesome hash. You'd be like, cool. It would have just ended up down there anyway. And especially because a lot of times that shit's getting turned into isolate or distillate or whatever. Right. And, I'm not interested in any of that. Once it's to that form, it's like, it's, I don't like pens and shit. But if there was all this beautiful resin that got lost along the way, I wouldn't mind if it just, hey, look, it got lost. Didn't even, hey, for every ton, 50 pounds on a ton, I'd be happy with that. Right. Yeah. And now we are moving tonnage, Yeah. So I think we'll get back to that one day. Just, there's a few people out there that are interested still, and they understand. They do like, static tech and shit, but it's so time consuming and there's such a small amount that once you get to that level of dry sieve, you can't even buy that. I mean, it's like that stuff's would be $300 a gram or something nowadays.
Antique car prices, inflation.
Well, the workload is just so high.
Oh yeah,
so high. Well, high, dude. I haven't said that in a long time. Haven't said that in a long time. So high gallery. I'm getting phone calls still for like, I don't know, collection agencies looking for bills and shit, and I'll just be like, Mitch Shinasa, talk to Mitch. I'll be like, it was Mitch Shinasa's fault. I blamed him a few times. And I don't have his number though, sorry. And I know he has never answered my call for so long that I'm sure he won't answer their call. And he hasn't answered the kid's call. The kid tries to call him. He's just, he's a busy guy.
He's off doing his thing. Getting pops.
Only if Kyle called, he might answer. But
yeah.
What time is it now? What time we got?
5:45.
Okay, so maybe I should give Shiloh a heads up, have him call in, and then while we're doing that, we can do the shout-outs. So I'll text him and do shout-outs. I'll be like, ready? We got it going on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, our buddies over at New Millennium. I was just over there hanging out for the first time in a while, too. I saw Bo and Sam and Lee and the whole crew, and they are. New Millennium is definitely starting to get some recognition now, which is awesome to see. They, in the very beginning when we were working with these guys, it was literally sold out of that one shop, and now it's like getting nationwide, and people at like I said, bigger operations, crushing it right now. So if you want to get some professionally made, especially I swear to God, I can't believe we haven't had him on the show yet, but the guy who makes this stuff is legendary in the industry.
My God. Such a genius.
Yeah, so he's pushing the envelopes, and the thing is, he's also super cool about it too. Like he knows he could make 10 products off of one product, but why would he? I'll just make one product and make it work. And they have they source the best materials, especially like with that ruby fulvic is like 9 sources of fulvic acid, which is, I think you've covered every source at that point, because there's not very much. There's a very rare.
No, there aren't.
Yeah, and so you're like, okay, 9 sources. That's covering all bases, right? Also, their winter frost works really well, and their decision, which is exactly what it sounds like when you're in the middle of transition phase and stuff like that. You hit them with that right at that in the beginning, and it sparks them right out of the gate. So you go to newmillenniumnutrients.com and check out their store finder and check out their calculator and all that stuff, so you can figure out exactly how much you need and not waste any money.
Right.
And then also. I think they got they have a store finder calculator, and they got a little. They also got obviously some instructions on usage and stuff, right? So
Yeah, they got a little blog.
good. And they got a little blog,
Little blog here,
blog
little
going,
blog going on.
little blog here, a little blog there. So yeah, check them out. newmillenniumnutrients.com. Obviously, give them the old ADS special that we never make up, and say just make it up yourself. Say Adam Dunn Show. Adam
told
Dunn
me.
Show. Yeah, exactly. Guaranteed get much better service there. Yeah, my friends were in town, and they go, mate, we went by there, we said your name, and fucking it was $300, and all of a sudden it was 123. It was a
Nice.
good deal. I was like, yeah, there you go. That's what you do. You throw the old. I'm telling you, just use Adam Dunn code everywhere you go. It'll work. They won't. If they like baseball, they're gonna think it's a baseball deal, and they're gonna go, yeah, give that guy a free beer. Oh, Adam Dunn, I don't know, but no, for some reason it's worked. Kyle's used it, right?
I've definitely dropped it.
Oh yeah,
once or twice.
Kyle tries it in the worst place.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was like, they're not going to do it. But where you can get some deals is if you go check out Incredibles Edibles with their brand new packaging, which is definitely looking sweet.
Yeah.
And lots of new flavors, new products. They're just cranking out the highest quality of things. Also, speaking of which, they got ChemDog exclusivity and P-Bud.
Got that.
Booyah,
Got that
wearing the
P-Bud shirt on too.
Oh shit! Kyle is flossing with the P-Bud over here. They got the microdose deals. They got pens. If you want to go and start making your own, they got extractors. I mean, what don't they have? What don't they have? Definitely number one company here in Colorado, in my opinion. And if you want to hit them up, you go to iloveincredibles.com, and they also have a store finder. And they're also in a bunch of different states now, which is awesome. So if you're in Cali or Nevada or Oregon and where else?
All over.
All over the place.
over, man.
Puerto Rico. No,
They
what's
might be
it?
in
The
Washington.
local corner
I think
guy.
they're in Washington.
Yeah, see, we've covered everywhere. That's
Yeah.
it.
Oregon, Illinois, Arizona, Michigan, Puerto Rico.
Arizona.
Ooh.
Yep, there you go, Arizona.
If you see them, though, grab them. At least try them. They're awesome.
Yeah, and if their shop doesn't have them, tell them to get them because they will be happy that you did.
Yes.
Everybody will work out. So also we want to get our guy. Oh, Jeremy, what you talked to Jeremy?
Yes.
He's on point.
Oh, he's
Nice.
on board.
Oh, good. He didn't leave
He's
us.
on board.
He didn't
Nah,
leave
he
us.
loves
We had
it.
a moment there. We weren't sure what was going on.
He loves it.
Yeah,
He's busy.
he's busy.
With
So
them hemp fields.
hemp fields on hemp fields on hemp fields. So Build a Soil is your source for all your IPM issues, all of your no-till sort of solutions, and you can get free freight here in Colorado, New Mexico, over $500. So if you want to get some major heavy stuff off of them, there you go. Just your one-stop source. They've got all the best and hard-to-find items. When I was in the shop the other day, I heard somebody asking for some aloe powder, and I was like, aloe powder? I never hear anybody ask for that. And then they were right, but they hit them up. They said, no, Build a Soil is the only place you can get them. I was like, that's right.
Yeah.
Those guys know what's up. But they, you can contact them either by phone, which is crazy, right? So that's 855-877-SOIL, or you can go online to buildasoil.com, check out the stuff online, which is obviously going to be your first stop. But if you need some help, give them a call. They're super helpful, which is half the game in this deal, is finding people who actually give you some honest answers. And if you have a problem, they can help you out. I've watched them crank through other people's issues and help turn around gardens, which can, save you a fortune. Save you a fortune there.
Absolutely.
So go to buildasoil.com and check them out. We'll have Jeremy on the show now soon, since he'll be over with his harvesting soon, and things will be back to normal.
Definitely.
He's like he's like maybe a December host, a guest, or a January or something when it's just a little more calm.
He's on the western slope where all that's going down.
I know,
A
it's
lot of
going down. Speaking of going down, Mr. Ron Wallace went down with some records this year. He crushed it as usual. I'm surprised he hasn't got new photos of his new wins. He won like I think at least 4 or 5 different contests. They just cruise around with it, like they got the pumpkin all loaded up. They cruise around, just challenge everybody, like, yeah, what up, and then boom, wins again. So, I mean, I noticed there was decent prize money too. So, in the like 10 G's on each one or something. So, if you win, keep bringing that thing around and winning more. It's like, all right, actually
start growing some pumpkins.
Yeah, but nobody grows pumpkins like Mr. Ron Wallace. I'll tell you that much.
No way.
He is
I
the
like
man.
that.
And so if you have any kind of rhizosphere deals and you want to improve, his mycorrhizal products are off the chain. You've seen him on the back of Extreme Gardening's packaging for years. That's the man himself. But you can contact him directly at wallacewow.com, right?
Yep, wallacewow.com.
Kyle couldn't remember. He was my go-to guy back in the day. I used to have Kyle do, but now he's over. He's been up in the mountains too long. It's wallacewow.com, bro. Just in case you didn't know. You can contact him direct, and that's his spot right there. It's funny because, he's just a one-man show. He's got a beautiful garden. He's got 1,450 square feet of canopy for I think it was like 6 pumpkins to begin with, but then it all gets down to the one, and he's got each one has 1,450 for each pumpkin. So I was like, damn, it's like, you're like, whoa, it's like,
right.
And
that's doing it right, man.
Took me a while to even then as I stood in the thing, I was like, that's okay. Now I get it. It's like you basically assassinate all the other pumpkins.
Yeah.
And you just cruise around, kill pumpkins all day. You have to be the pumpkin killer. And then you have to trellis it right.
Yep.
And then you got to get all your vines correct. But then it's so intricate. And then and he keeps such a nice place. It was like one of those things where it's like if you go to a grow room and you see somebody who's just like, they got their shit together.
That's on point.
And you're like, okay, I like that. And then, everything just clean. His garden was like that too. It was just perfect. And the soil was like butter. This is good stuff here. So go to wallacewow.com and get your products direct from him. Just say Adam Dunn Show, and he'll hook you up. You definitely get our shirt. I know that. Green Farms, our buddies from Green Farms, and actually Buffalo is another product that they have under their quiver now. We're going to be having them on the show also soon, a bit more. They are crushing game. They have shops down if you're here in Colorado and you're medical, then you can go check out their shop down in the Springs. And it's a cool little spot too, because it's like one of those things when you go in, you're like, where the fuck is this spot? And then you get in there, there's like tarot card on one side. It's the classic the classic one. But then you come inside and you're like, whoa, this place is sick. Great products. Check them out at greenfarmsco.com, right?
Yep.
And
greenfarms.co.
Oh, greenfarms.co. See, there you go. Greenfarms.co. Also got a shop up in Louisville, right around the corner from here. The former Victory Hydroponics, and it's a great shop because they're specializing most in about 98% organic products. They're really pushing the envelope on that side. Also, all the products that grow in their for their dispensary are in-house grown, no-till. They got crystals on every plant, dude. I was like, you guys are killing it right here. Mm-hmm. Last round was phenomenal too. Phenomenal.
Nice.
Yeah. So greenfarms.co, check them out. And seedsherenow.com. Yes, seedsherenow.com. Those are our guys. Killing it. Everybody knows them on the show, of course. Of course, now here's the thing. You guys got to use the code that I never remember. What's the code for them? Do we remember?
ADS 420.
We just say that. We never know what it is. As long as you do something with ADS in there, because I get complaints that we don't drive enough traffic. But I think the problem is that all of our guys have already ordered from them. And so it's kind of like,
And they got that bomb now, and they're like...
Yeah, so it's like you're already going straight to my dealer now, pretty much. You guys are going, you jumped me. You
cut me out.
You cut me out.
Don't need me anymore.
And I don't get any credit now. So basically, if you do order seeds and you do listen to the show, please use the code and get a little extra discount and also make us look like we actually deserve them as our main sponsor. Jesus Christ. Come on now.
Yeah.
Pull your weight, guys. Buy some
check
fucking
the website
seeds.
out. That stuff's fire.
It's not like we don't buy seeds. I know that people who listen to my show definitely buy seeds. So seedsherenow.com. If James is listening and he wants to jump in and do James being man on the scene, you can feel free because we're here and we're live. Also, if Shiloh's listening, it is, and he doesn't remember the number, it's 720-310-8237. And I'm going to text him again in a second. And also, if Dougie Fresh over in Amsterdam is listening, if he's woke, I think he tried to go for a nap, which never works out, dude. It's like, dude, you cannot go. Don't do the nap.
Nope.
You're gonna wake up and be all.
You're gone.
What time is it? What day? You never even know what day it is if you try to take a nap at like 11, right?
Oh, that's the worst.
Or 12. Yeah, I'm gonna take a nap for like a couple hours around 12. No. But he can try. We'll see. We'll see. So, Dougie Fresh, if you're out there, you can call in 720-310-8237. Same with you, Shiloh. And I'm surprised. Where's Fo? Are you sure the line's working? Because Fo 20 has not called in yet. So there's an indicator that maybe our systems are down or something. Is that possible?
Yeah, people are saying that they're getting bad stuttering, and then I'm not actually getting a feed right now too. So internet stream status says bad. All things are bad.
Okay.
Oh, things are popping back up. Okay,
We're back on again?
I'm sure it looks like it.
Okay. Well, maybe
Take two.
I was stuttering, guys. That was me. I'm sorry. I've been holding it back.
You're a
this whole
mumbler,
time.
not a stutter.
I'm a mumble stutterer, which is the worst kind because you can't. First of all, you can't even know what they're saying. What I did notice is my buddies are in here, so you can go say hi. Yeah, go say hi. Tell them what's up. Yeah. If I might get one of them on here for fun if he wants to come on, but they don't have to. So just tell him, get him some drinks or something. Thank you, my friend. Let me hit back to Shiloh, which I keep forgetting to do because I'm trying to keep some sort of show rolling or something.
Yeah, well,
Tell
somebody
me-
was asking for Ariane stories.
Arian stories.
Oh.
Well, I have a lot of Arian stories, but which one were you like? How about when he came out with his bobblehead? Should we go with that story?
Yeah, let's hear the bobblehead story.
Never been told before.
Uh-oh.
It's a pretty intense story.
Okay.
I've kept it secret for a long time.
Sweet.
But there was a time when he came out with his own bobblehead, and a good friend of mine and I, my friend heard about it before I did because I wasn't really in on Aryan juice, you know. So, and this is all corroborable. How do you say it? Corroborate.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
it's corroborable. Yes, it is.
there's
So-
other people who can.
so if
who
you
can
wanna-
testify.
I'll tell you the link after we tell the story, and you guys can see the whole thing, it's pretty funny. So he had this bobblehead coming, and my friend cooked up a little scheme, which was fun. He basically said to the guy to Arian that his friend wants to come in and buy the first bobblehead for $5,000, right? U.S. dollars for the first one. And he's a Japanese collector of bobbleheads, and that's his thing, you know. So then his friend, a Japanese guy, came through and bought the bobblehead from Arian. But I got the bobblehead, so I still got it too. That's
Number one?
Number one. I still got it. So basically, I got the bobblehead before anybody else got the bobblehead. But if you watch the video, which is on YouTube, of him getting the bobblehead, it was the fucking most amazing day of his life. So it was fun to long prank somebody in the sense that it never happened. You know what I mean? He thinks he sold his first bobblehead for $5,000 to a guy, and the reality is he didn't get $5,000. He got $1,500. I know that for a fact because my friend gave it to him. But yeah, it wasn't a real collector, and it was just all a ruse. So it was one of these things where he thought he had done the most amazing thing, and the spirits and the stars and the moon have lined up, and it was all because of him, and and he was so, and we never mentioned it to him. So to this day, he doesn't know. So I'm sure somebody's gonna say, "Do you know Adam pranked you?" Which will be fun now. Now it's okay because it was 10, 15 years ago, whatever. But we had the bobblehead, and the funny thing was we made all these videos with samurai swords and fucking chopping its head off and all this stuff. And then because later what happened was, this is the funniest part of the whole thing, is that guy, the Japanese guy, came in and bought it on, say, a Sunday. And on that next day, Monday, every store in fucking town had them pretty much, right? So
Dang.
So it was kind of like rude in the sense. And so
Right.
the Japanese guy got pissed, but he didn't really.
It's a
'cause-
Beanie Baby situation.
yeah, he didn't really get pissed because he didn't even give a fuck. But according to the reality, so at one point, Arian was getting messages from the Yakuza saying that he wasn't allowed in Japan anymore.
Wow.
Because of this, he had insulted this collector. And he 100% believed it. So that alone made the whole thing worth it. It was one of those deals where I was like, even though it took a while, that was a good one. That was a good one. So, there's a completely non-growing, not the one, the other, okay, so you go to Greenhouse Bobblehead on YouTube. You will find it, video. And if you watch the whole video to the very end, it's also funny because they're smoking Cushage at the time, and they come up to them and they ask them, "So what are you guys smoking?" And they're in Greenhouse, and they go, "Cushage," and then it cut the video, cut it.
Strain hunting, dude.
Yeah. No, and as far as strain hunts go, what I thought was a funny one was that we had the Sage and Sour, I forget what year we put it out, and he really wanted a sour. Like, oh my God, at that time he wanted a sour diesel so bad. And he got a couple packs and came out with his Arian's Ultra Sour or something like that. And it was like, it says right on his actual thing, Sage and Sour. So I'm like, okay, so what did you walk 2 blocks away to my shop and that's your fucking strain hunting right there? Like my strain hunting consists of, I go out my door and I go down the street and then I buy 2 packs. I had a kid at one time who really looked a lot like Arian, like a young version of him, and I wanted to do I wanted to make a video of him strain hunting from the store to doing that little video because it takes like 10 minutes to get there, and it's like, oh yeah, give me 2 packs, mate. Yeah, can I have 2 packs? Can I have 2 packs? Shish. Anyway, that's enough Arian stories. I usually wouldn't even fall for that give me an Arian story thing, but what the hell? That story should be told because now that we're in the age of videos, before that there was no YouTube at that time, right? There wasn't like you could tell this story, and just the fact that he put the video up, and it's every hit he gets he thinks is even better. But if you go to it now, it'll be funny because it'll still be there, of course, and so it's a long punk. It's like a 15-year long punk.
Slow and steady.
Yeah. So check that out, guys. And Shiloh, where you at? It's the time to call in, my friend. 720-310-8237 is the call-in number. And again, no faux 20. What the hell? He's in town. You know that he's here in Colorado.
Oh, is he?
Oh yeah. This is supposed to be the faux 20 show. And he's gonna be mad because he's gonna be like, there was this empty seat the whole time.
The whole time.
I could have been there, which is fine. But we'll have. And now that he's in town, he will be in this studio. He will have Mr. 420 himself.
Awesome.
Yeah, he wants to do 10-hour shows, by the way. So that's the other problem.
Well, hey.
Yeah, Kyle's like,
no, I'm good, man.
10-hour
I'm
shows.
Single young man, man. I can do 10 hours very
10-hour
easily.
shows, no problem. So, but yeah, he's in town hanging out with his buddy.
Awesome.
And we're going to have him come in, I think, next week, actually. And let's see, where is he? Shiloh. Come on. All right. I think, did he say, hold on a second. He says tomorrow, right? No. Today. Yeah. No. There we go. Oh my God. I didn't see the tomorrow part. I think he thought he was going to fly in and fly. I think because he was originally he was supposed to be here. That was the original plan. They're on their honeymoon going to Barcelona. And the original idea was to come into the show, which I was very honored that they would actually fly in just to do the show, just to fly out, and then they canceled on me. So went from honor to forgetting which day the show was on. So that's how it goes. That's how it goes.
That's how the show works. Yeah.
That is how the show works. That is how the show works. But we have backups for everything, and I think
Right.
I gotta call Doug up and wake him up because if Shiloh forgets about the day and Doug falls asleep, then that's typical Adam Dunn show. But you did get to hear about the Arian story, so that's already a bonus, I think. Let's see. Okay, well, no answer from him. 2, let's see what 2 has to say here.
It's looking good. Hemping.
He said hemping.
Hemping
And I
ain't
know
easy.
most people grew a bit more. Oh, he's all feeling sad because he only has a couple racks of hemp. Yeah. There's always somebody with more. I got some.
Yeah.
Our friend Kyle's. Our friend Gannon. Too many Kyles.
Kyles in the room.
So many Kyles. So many Kyles. I forgot. But no, my friend Gannon. They have an 8,200 square foot spot to dry, and they filled it up already. Like, I don't know. It just keeps getting loaded and unloaded every 3 days, and that's the. You forget how much volume there is when you're doing it.
Yeah.
Most of us we're happy when we outgrow our dry room, but nowadays it becomes a hindrance in how you're going to do it.
Dry warehouse.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the technology, though, is interesting because there's a lot when it comes to hemp stuff, you'll see, as I was talking about earlier, about the different levels. The higher they go up the level, the more mechanical you have to get because the reality is the tonnage is there. You know what I mean? When you're dealing with tonnage and you got to pay people X amount per hour or you got to buy $500,000 or a $750,000 machine, it's pretty easy to make the decision if you're planning on doing it for a long time. If you're going to do it once, okay, maybe not. But if you're planning on doing it for a long time, you got to get it mechanical, and then that's why the people who have the real big money should understand that that's really where it's at as far as like the numbers they're looking for. Because like cannabis has its own number threshold because of just the restrictions and stuff. And then and just the amount of that people actually need. And then with CBD, we haven't quite got there yet, but it's going to come quick. Like within a few years, when the price is a bit more realistic, it's not $6 and sounding really sexy. It's like now it's down to $1,200 or where it will be very soon. Right. And I think it'll knock out a lot of the dreamers. You know what I mean? It'll be just the people who want to buy just give me the $5 million deal. How much is that? 5? Cool. How much is that? 1. All right. How much altogether? 20 million? Whatever. What I mean? And then I think like 5 years ago, I kept telling everybody like somebody should invest $100 million into the processing part because when the hemp is grown, no one's going to know where to go. No one's done it yet, really. There's not one proper, Not yet.
Right.
It's coming though.
Right. Yeah. The cool part is like we're in an industry that like the money's coming in and there's a lot of people that are interested in it, and like you say, it's at the same time it's going to get a lot of new people interested in things. It's going to get a lot of it's going to weed a lot of people out as well.
Well, I mean, like plastic and stuff like that's the thing that hasn't really been fully utilized, which I mean now we're at a point where, it's starting to happen, but at the same time there's so much potential in that world, especially now that we have 3D printers and stuff, and I've seen plenty of good quality ones using hemp filament and it working fine. So you're like, okay, well we should be feeding that right now, but I don't really know many people who are doing anything with their stocks or anything that's substantial. Most people are just shredding it.
Well, that's the difficult part is when what people end up doing is they see their acreage at the end of the year and they're like, okay, now what do I do? And they're not really prepared for it, and they end up really just taking whole plant and hammer milling all of it together, everything, the bud, the seed, the stalk, the stem, the everything, and then sending that for processing. They're not really taking the time to, handle the product properly in order to, do what we want with it. Like actually separate properly the stock material that we want. Because when we're harvesting for hemp fiber, it's not the whole fiber itself. It's really the outside core. Is really what we're looking for. The inside's really generally kind of soft.
Yeah.
So
that's what you can make like plastic and things like that out of. That's
exactly.
All the herds. The herds are actually like mostly cellulose. So if you think of that as like just the most basic building block.
Exactly.
And then the fiber part, which the thing is, we're not using fiber for fiber. Like we're using fiber for everything else because the way we grow it.
Exactly.
Like there's nobody growing fiber. Hemp fiber needs to be really tall and thin and processed like that, and then. There's less herd per plant. Here we have just, chunk, lots of herd.
Exactly.
And that's why it's kind of sad that we're not really utilizing it properly. Like no one's really, that I've seen yet. I mean, I'm sure something down the road will happen, but.
Well, and again, anybody that I've seen come close to that is hand harvesting good, big-sized plants. You know what I mean?
Like it would be a great service right now for somebody to drive around with a semi and just load up on all the stalks from all these different farms and get it off their property and cash them out a little bit with it, or something. And just like,
Right.
here's $100. Take all your stocks. You know what I mean? And if you can turn a ton and a half of stock into something proper, that's actually,
Absolutely.
you'd be like, there's a lot of SKUs there you can work with. So, I think we're not there yet as far as like, true hemp society. We're getting there, but we're kind of taking it the weed way. It seems. Let's go.
Well,
slow.
that's
Let's go
that's
weed
the
way.
problem is that people are seeing the dollar signs in the chemical aspect of it, the CBD side of it, and they're seeing, like you say, these, I want 20,000 pounds of isolate, and then there's, because I want this big, multi-million-dollar deal to go through that I can make a quick, six figures on.
I know, and it's weird because I know people who, I know they're not really going to waste their time forever on it, but at the same time, the numbers that they're talking, they should have been retired already 5 times over. Right? Like, so wait a minute, you just did a $200 million deal, didn't you make enough off of that to
Right.
like retire or something? But,
Exactly. You just won the lottery, right?
pretty much, but at the same time, it's I haven't seen a lot of people actually pull it off.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of big numbers, but I've never really seen any of it really go through. You know what I mean?
So since I'm sitting here, maybe if Tate comes, we'll chat more about it. But you guys had a pretty decent seed line now, kind of in house here.
Yeah. So we've got a couple different varieties that we're really excited about. We've got the original cherry. That's the one that we're most excited about. That's the field that you saw. It's got a really great structure, getting really good numbers. It's been consistent for a couple years now. We're really excited about that one. The next one would be our abacus. That's the other one we got a real good flavor for. It's a purple variety, pretty good numbers. Also yields similar in style to the original cherry, in that it's
And
wide,
numbers be
bushy.
like what, like on those like 20s, if they're good? And
So the abacus doesn't quite push the 20s. That one pushes closer to the 18s.
Gotcha.
But the cherry is really the highest producer over the 20s there. That's the only one that we've seen consistently over the couple of years that we're comfortable enough to put our name on. That's consistent enough and showing those numbers enough that we can actually put it on a label.
right. And what was the other? And so you did a combination of the two, right, this year?
So we're breeding a combination of the two.
Gotcha.
We have not gotten a comfortable variety yet that we've seen over multiple generations yet. We're working on it.
Gotcha.
But it's a lot of the stuff is it's just stuff that we're dabbling in. But we've got a couple of strains that we really, really, really like, and we're gonna have a lot of them this upcoming season, which is really exciting. The CBD thing, it's really it's why you bring up companies like the Oregon CBD companies, because it's a lot of people get burned, and you need a good trusted company that's going to be able to rely on the numbers that they're going to claim. Some of these farmers are staking their livelihoods on this opportunity here, and it's for some of them it's a really big financial jump, and it has a potential to either make them or break them. And that's a really good place to start. Is something that a genetic that you can really rely on, numbers that you can count on, and a company that you can trust. And the exciting part about Key to Life is is we pair the fertilizer that's specifically designed to keep CBD levels up without affecting THC. Low, if no phosphates, in all of our available fertilizers.
Tell me a little bit more about that, because that was definitely could be a game changer as far as keeping you under the right amount without.
Yeah.
Because that's I think that's the problem, is a lot of people are, we're on the goal of making it as strong as possible, so we usually
Right.
kind of use our instincts to go there. And
Right.
then, aha! There he is. As we're speaking. I
We're
said,
just
mate.
getting into seed talk, buddy.
What's happening? What's happening?
Jump on your
Pop a
mic.
squat, dude.
Hell yeah.
It's all waiting for you, buddy.
That's what's up. Thanks for waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started late anyway, so
Yeah.
and Shiloh hasn't called in yet, so
Oh shit.
it's all good. Now we got some.
It's all chill, brother.
So we're just talking about. We were going down your seed strains, and we talked about cherry a little bit. We talked about abacus a little bit, and then and you walked in the room. So
Perfect timing.
amazing.
Exactly.
Everything happens for
You
a
always
reason.
have perfect timing,
So
right?
you got headphones here, so you can hear how awesome you sound.
Oh.
Ooh. Yeah. So we got Tate Dooley in the house. owner of this fine establishment, and we're all very happy to be here. We actually we thought it was better than almost every place we've ever been, as far as like at least everything being right where we needed it. The internet's a little slow here and there, but
Yep.
got to do it after hours for sure. We'd kill those guys up there. But you guys are proper business here, doing big things.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's been interesting lately. Shit is moving at light speed.
We showed pictures of the other field that I went to the other day with you, and also, I mean, that was already a couple weeks ago, so I don't even want to know what it looks like now.
Oh my gosh, game over.
Right?
The numbers he was claiming for
I know.
weight, I was like, woo,
I know, that
we'll
might be-
see, we'll see.
I said to him, I said, if he went half of that, I'd be impressed. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So,
Right.
but you got some, so that's some great experience now with your products on the field in full, like looking like perfect as far as like didn't see any fades anywhere unnecessary or.
Yeah, I was actually pretty impressed myself. I was out there like, what nutrients are you using?
What was tell us what was the nutrients he was using though? Because I mean,
So he was using Boost from Key to Life, which is our humic acid product.
Yeah.
He was using Silver Bullet, which is our micronized sulfur. He was using Revitalize, which is our amino acid. He was using our microbes, which is our beneficial bacteria separated from endomycorrhizas.
Yep.
He was also using our fungi, mycorrhizal product. He did one application of our foliar on the field. And he also got the new Green 9 and CalNomag micronutrient and calcium only product.
nice. And then was this so? Most of it was pre-done, and then there was some applications of certain products at certain times.
Yeah, so
What was in the mix before he started anything? You guys,
well, he actually started treating even all the way back to hoop house. So while those little girls were just chilling in the hoop house in their 2x2s or whatever, he started treating there with teas and foliar almost every single day. Once he went into the field, the first product that he was blasting was the Revitalize amino acid product. Obviously, the aminos, heavy nitrogen, heavy protein, all the L-aminos, get the bacteria jumping off, stuff like that. And yeah, so he went out in the field with the Revitalize, and then shortly after implemented almost everything. So he was doing full regiment right off the bat. He didn't get sulfur until about a week before you and I went to the farm. So yeah, basically he could have had a little bit more terps, but he was even really impressed with the one application of sulfur coming out there, popping off the terps and just really expressing the flower to what it needed to be.
And what was the cost about? Because that was a pretty solid ass field, and it was a good number to work with because it was just 5. So there you go. It wasn't like trying to figure it all to. So what was his overall cost? You think about
So I remember
maybe
him.
not his because maybe you threw some down for him. But
Oh yeah,
what
I helped him out a little.
I'm sure. But I mean, what would be the average?
That was a 5-acre field, and he spent about $6,000 there total on newts for the whole thing. Obviously, he has genetics. He has our original cherries, one of our
I'm
breeders.
just about the nutrients,
Yeah,
of course. But.
on nutrient side, I remember the invoice being about $600 to $6,500 for 5 acres.
Okay.
Which is pretty damn good.
Pretty damn good, right?
For the whole regiment.
Yeah, for the whole regiment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's including beneficials. Usually when we see people start throwing their beneficials, those prices start to skyrocket. But the beauty of our microbes is basically 4 to 6 other microbials on the market, all combined all into one.
Right.
So your cost goes from, $1.30 per gallon for all those different microbials down to 30 cents.
Right.
Pretty amazing. They're pretty impressed for sure. Didn't see the only type of yellowing that you saw was just stunted plants that had issues all the way up from clone. So pretty happy there.
So I think we're gonna have to do Shiloh next week because now he's at a soccer tournament. Jesus.
Oh boy.
With the kiddos?
With the kiddos.
There we go.
Dude, I'm at the soccer tournament with the kids.
Gotta do it, man.
And he was
Gotta
probably
do
right
it.
now. He's probably right now just like trying to go. Oh, I'm gonna go to the car. And I've done it before. Not in soccer. It's not playing soccer, but I did it. I did it at a party I went to. I was setting the whole party up. Then I went in my car and did a 2-hour interview. And people just kept coming and like freaking out. Why aren't you? What's going on? Are you all right? I'm like, I'm doing an interview. Leave me alone.
We're doing our thing over here.
That was on the podcast. You can tell I'm in a car. It sounds really good, actually. It sounds pretty
heavy
good.
days.
So that's about $1,200 per acre, or something like that. $1,250 or something like that.
Yeah,
Works out.
$12.50 per acre. Pretty
Pretty on point. Especially 'cause, like I said, the amount of growth there was amazing. Like,
And he didn't incorporate our hemp dress either. So he didn't get a chance to do the soil amendment, which is kind of what we recommend. We recommend covering your bases with your soil amendment, which is our hemp dress.
Yeah.
It's all the bases. It's basically every single Keto Life products plus a couple.
Yeah.
And then you go in with root drench through irrigation with all the fully solubles, the rest of the line, and incorporate a couple foliar feeds. At that point, it's almost indoor cannabis gardening. You've got all your bases covered, and that's why he was getting the production he was getting.
yeah, that was awesome. Like we were saying, 4-foot spread. You were like, no. It's impossible. It's like a hedge, had the proper hedge vibe going.
Yeah,
Those things were straight bushes.
Yeah.
How's other spots around? You been checking out other people? Or?
Oh my gosh, yeah, I've been all over the place lately. Well, last week we were in Tennessee. Got to visit a couple farms out there, one of which we sponsored as well. He was growing all the way from a cherry tang to a late Sioux. Complete different bud development, completely different crop development in general, different spacing. Everything was different.
Was it the same garden that I saw online? Somebody else doing a little tour of Chip Baker. Was he at the same place?
Potentially.
I think he might have been because he was.
I was really hungover.
Was
that
it
day.
really like a lot of stuff got like beat up and hurt, and it was not the greatest. It wasn't like a beautiful garden. It was like a whole over the place and kind of some finishing and some like, what the hell is? I think it might be the same place.
Yep.
I saw Chip Baker walking through it.
Yeah, he had a lot of botrytis. Right when
Yes, that's
Kyle and I got there,
Yeah.
it was raining like cats and dogs, and it had been doing that for 2 weeks, like
Yeah.
hardcore. I haven't seen rain like that in Colorado all year. It was going crazy.
Well, today was crazy because it was like about what time was it? About 2:30, right? It just went like that was it. The summer was over like at 2:30 today.
Yeah.
Right before he came over to the house, I'm sitting there and I go, Nick, come here, to my kid, and I lift him up and hold him up so he can see. And it was like, it looked like just this white, weird cloud coming down this, and it was like, what the fuck is going on? It was like the whole city just got immediately windy.
Yep.
And fucking
The winter.
it was just on. I was like, oh, that's it. It's on.
And it's on.
And
Get those
it's here.
those plants out of the field as fast as you can.
It just was unbelievable as far as like how quick it can change here. And I forgot that because we went through a nice sort of zone where we were like, oh, if every day was like, if like we're in that perfect Indian summer where you're like, man, if every day was like this, this would be perfect. And and it happened for quite a while. It's just like the East Coast was, and Europe this year. Europe was like 30 over 90 degrees in Holland for like 3 months straight or something. It never happened, and so.
Even the Colorado summer was a little different. I usually here in Colorado, all of August, about like 1 to 4 o'clock, you get that afternoon rain. We didn't get that this year.
It was way dry. Mountains are way dry.
So Shiloh is confirmed for next week. So all the people who wanted to know about the Skittles and all that. But actually, you know what? I really, really, really want to bring this other guy on because I have somebody local who is throwing a whole monkey wrench into that Skittles story, and I want to get his guy who I've never actually interviewed about it, but there's like this claim that this guy has, which is going to be challenged immediately, but who knows? Let's throw it in the ring. And I already said before, like when I had Shiloh on last, I was like, dude, come on the show when Shiloh's there. But of course he pussied out. So I'm going to try to get him on and stir it up a little bit because there's somebody else saying that, no, man, there's the story. But it's like a guy in a tent for, you know what I mean? Like, but you never know. There could be some validity to it. So let's bring him on.
It's always interesting to hear all the different sides.
It is.
So,
I didn't talk about the spot here because I figured it's all top secret, but you're basically right at the airport, right?
Yes, sir. We're up on the Rocky Mountain Metro Airport in Broomfield, Colorado. We're actually in an ex-CIA facility, which is kind of crazy.
And I used to run the CIA, you know that, right?
You did?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, it was they ran the whole thing. That was the name of my first store. Was the CIA.
CIA.
Yeah, and it was a seed shop in Amsterdam. I
That's
sold
funny.
seeds, and it was my little hangout spot. It was big, but it was my hangout, and that was what we just cheesed on the CIA the whole time. Everything because we were two Americans, and like totally like my partner looked like Face from fucking the A-Team or something, and he was like, hey, like, and I was the opposite, long hair, fucking tie dye, but
What a combo.
exactly. And out front of their store was a sign that was basically the CIA logo with a joint hanging out his mouth with the eagle had a joint, and you had to walk up the stairs to go there. So it was a bit shady for most people because you're standing at the bottom of the stairs, and it's like the CIA in Amsterdam. This is a fucking scam. Like they are the CIA. They're up there getting all the information. And in a way, it was so funny because we were the coolest hangout spot, and people just came and told us all their stories about their show. I was like, we would have been the best CIA ever, because
You could have totally fooled them.
it was well, it's too easy. I looked like your quintessential fucking hippie at the time, and my friend looked like the quintessential fucking business guy. Like, hey, yo, what's going on? So, and then the other guy who worked with us went to school with him, and he was like straight out of college, or he had the total like hair flip college guy. The only reason the only reason that people trusted us is that we had good weed. When they get there, they'd be like, "Oh shit, we have good weed." So it was like we would always, raise to the challenge.
Win them by the good weed.
Yeah, but basically, it'd be like they would never have came. But we had access to all the best seed banks at the time, and all the seed banks didn't work. Nobody wanted to like work together. They were always in their own little camps, and I worked for one, and then I worked with another, and I'd be like, you guys. So it was funny because I just rode my bike from spot to spot and didn't have any stock at all. Had no we were just totally strapping, and it's like, okay, here's my list, and then I'd get on my bike and ride over to the other spot, grab it all from the guy who's gonna be my wholesale buddy, and then we'd get it back, and everybody made money, and it was like one of those funny things because it was like the circle was so small in Amsterdam, but it was actually hard to maneuver if you didn't really know A to B,
Same shit. You got to be in the circle, right?
Yeah, for sure. And there, it's literally a circle, so it makes it even funnier. It's like, and CIA building, which is awesome.
Was
what did they
actually
do? What did they do here?
It was the Technical Holdings Operations Center, and what they did here was they actually held top security witnesses in these rooms. This room right here would have had a bed in it, and they would have brought in, who knows, somebody testifying against the mob, whatever.
Yeah, something like that. Exactly. That's crazy.
And they would hold them here while the marshals were here and fly them in and out. Crazy.
Yeah, there must have been some big names here.
Probably.
Crazy.
The
But
room that we're test gardening around in right now was the computer room, and it was completely air conditioned, wall to wall computers.
I mean, that must have some power going into it.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So to be clear, when you say you're at the airport, I mean you're not even at the airport. If you go out the back door, you're on the runway. It's fucking nuts. You're like, what? That's crazy. So
Super lucky.
because cannabis people never get spots like that because we're always having to sort of hide behind whatever. And luckily you're in Colorado, which it has its own freedoms, I guess, to a point. It's getting less and less, it seems like, but for the most part, you can pretty much, especially because you're in the industry from a literal industry point of view, and not a dispensary on the runway. I definitely don't think they would have allowed that. But
they've questioned us so many times. To be honest, they're like, "You guys have to be growing in there. Where's the grow? Blah 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 blah." We've actually walked them around in here.
Yeah.
Right next door is the fire marshals. It's actually really sweet. They bring in all the planes and fill them up with slurry for slurry bombing.
Yeah.
And putting out forest fires and stuff. And so those dudes, when we first got here, it definitely took 6 months before they kind of loosened up with us a little. It was pretty funny. They literally had to come over here and tour our facility. And they're like, oh, it's sales offices and like blending fertilizers and making fertilizers and packaging fertilizers and labeling them and all this stuff. And we're like, yeah, we are what we say we are. They're like, okay, well, it's cool that you're not growing weed here. Now we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean,
It's pretty funny.
But you are growing here, of course. No, I'm just kidding. We know you're growing.
Kyle grows other things.
Yeah,
What do we have in the garden?
God,
lately?
there's so much. We've got bonsai trees in there. We've got
nice.
pepper plants in there. We've got different mosses and stuff
What are
growing
you guys
in
doing
there.
for lighting in there? You kind of just not too heavy, right?
The old school induction lights
Oh,
that I
yeah.
told you about.
Yeah, tell us about that. You were the man before, right? That was your
Yeah.
thing.
I was trying to do the induction lighting game, and basically reverse engineered certain ballasts and technologies and put in like sensors and hertz sensors and hertz monitoring frequency equipment into our digital induction ballast. I actually got a Chinese patent on it, on the ballast and the bulb, and was able to make a induction light in a bloom spectrum and a veg spectrum.
So
but
and what was the difference? Because when I think of induction, I always think of like the kind of light bluey weird color that you're like, okay, it's not quite full spectrum. We know that. What was the?
Mine were 4,000 Kelvin and 6,700 Kelvin.
Okay.
And I was able to achieve like 2,500 par at 12 inches,
2,500. Wow.
which most induction lights were hitting about 1,000 par at 12 inches. So it does really it does well, but the double end and the ceramic metal halide came out with crazy silly money and R&D behind them, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
time out. And I had to walk away.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's a big arena. You know what I mean? It's a big arena with a lot of money. And if you go up against Philips or somebody
Philips
like,
and GE.
you're
Yeah,
like,
I can't.
you're like, yeah,
They throw like money away like I've never even made.
right. Well, the thing is, it's like unless you are, confident that you can't be beat, and the problem is that we know
It comes down to cost, too.
we know the game exactly. I was gonna say we know the game, and it's like if people are like looking at the money, they know they're gonna switch that gear out X amount of times in the existence of the business anyway. So they'll only go. And I went into one. I'm trying to remember what grow it was. I went into one grow that had a full induction setup, and the guy was loving it, but he was also hating it at the same time. It was like one of those. He was right at the moment where it was all transitioning because he was like not sure if he was gonna buy more. But he loved it up until that point, and he was a total fan.
Up until veg crushes.
That's what I mean. Yeah,
It's the best veg ever.
Yeah.
But blooming under inductions,
Yep.
I even was kind of like, well, the real jam is when you stagger in inductions with HPSs. It's the best. But then the problem is everybody went to the double end. The double ends were like way up high. The inductions were really down low.
Then you create a shadow
And
anyway.
it creates a shadow. And so, like, as that lighting technology changed and everybody's lighting footprints changed, if we were still in, like, glass Raptors, it'd be a different story. It'd work really well. Or basements or whatever.
Right.
But big commercial grows,
Yeah.
they have crazy height with tons of spacing in between their DEs,
There's not much point of that, exactly. Yeah, and then the thing is, it's gotten very cookie cutter now, too. So now it's like they don't want to think outside the box. So if you say, yeah, but I can take your whole area, and, but that's also the problem, too, is I'm not a big fan of stacking too much. I like to keep my rooms really open because I always think it's like, I know people don't do the work.
Microclimates.
Well, they just,
suck.
and they don't do work. Like, people won't go up and do the same work that they would if they're on the ground because the minute you're up there, you're kind of like thinking about different things. And so it's like,
And the intermediate cleaning, all the extra stuff that goes with it. I mean, it's
yeah, and it's also like it's just counter in sort of intuitive because you're
Especially for ganja, for sure. If I was growing like basil,
Yeah.
sure, stack it all day.
because you only get exactly. But for
Right.
weed,
But,
for
or
weed,
wheatgrass or whatever. But
Sure,
for
you have to.
cannabis,
yeah.
yeah.
yeah, and it's like you definitely grow 2 layers of shittier weed than if you grow 1 layer of good weed. That's my sort of philosophy. You can really maximize that one level.
When I'm all about like 4 and 5 feet deep canopies, and you can't achieve that stuff with double stacking. Like,
Yeah,
I
of
guess the
course.
whole thing is canopy, but I like a nice mature plant.
Well, the problem is you have a lot to keep up with your clones, which means then you need a lot of moms. So you actually start to create a sort of thing where you're better off if you can have better numbers that make sense, so you don't overclone what you're doing, because that's also when you run into problems when you have a lot of donor stock going on and you have a lot of people working, and it's kind of like you're one virus away from fucking wipeout. You know what I mean? And there's-
Epigenic issues pop up like crazy. And that's what we're seeing now in the hemp game.
Really?
Because the hemp game, people are think about the amount of clones you need versus a 100,000 square foot warehouse.
Right.
It's a complete different numbers game, you know? So now people are using just random moms that have epigenic issues, and it creates a lot of problems for them later on down the road.
Okay. Yeah.
Stunted plants, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. People don't test what they're doing, and that would be a nightmare. I mean, and it's pick of the litter. That's what we were giving props at the very beginning of the show to Oregon CBD guys, because
They did nail it.
I walked
I have a
around.
lot of respect for those dudes.
Yeah, I walked around and saw what they were doing, and I was like, okay, that's good. Proof is in the pudding. Now, I have to say, there's a lot of variability between the plants themselves within the strains, but then they tested very similar, and they all stayed below the limit, and their hermaphroditic and their male ratio was off the chain. I was like, dude, that's great. In the end, it was 7 males, 1 hermaphrodite, 15,000 starts. You know, so I was like,
Damn.
good job. You know,
Good on you.
That's good.
Yeah.
exactly. And it was fun because the whole field was like, there was a purple pheno and a green pheno that were both like the monster purple, the monster green, and then there was a bunch of sort of in betweeners, and then there was, certain ones that were.
What were they testing at? Do you know?
They were coming in around 18, mostly in the 18 range.
18?
Yeah, it seems
Nice.
like, and there was a couple. I mean, but all below, like 0.285 was the max. I think they came up at.
Nice.
So it was definitely
That's great.
on point. And like I said, there was enough variability that you could pretty much cherry pick certain ones where you were like, okay, yeah, that is definitely the pheno of that one.
Right.
And they had clones of almost everything in the very beginning. They were like super anal, and they lost them all because they were like took out too many. They had like 30,000 clones at one point. Like take 2 off of each.
Dude,
And
that
they're
many
like,
clones is hard to manage.
yeah,
For
it
sure.
was ridiculous.
It is.
It was
Yeah.
ridiculous, and you can't. Yeah, that's the hard part. Well, you can also clone. I mean, you can go around the field at that first week of flower, look for things that look interesting, clone there, and you'll get, it'll revert at that point. It won't be a big deal by the time
Right.
it actually roots, and they'll be a little bit more. You can be a little more selective instead of.
My buddy recently, instead of taking the clones to revert, he just straight ripped plants out of the ground. He's like, well, I have 300,000 plants. I'm just ripping this really nice female and this really nice male that I found out of the ground and putting them back into my greenhouse. He's like, it'll revert way faster, and then you have a bunch of them right off the bat. I was like, yeah, there's pros and cons, especially on this scale. You can afford a couple plants here and there to go back into the mother room.
Right.
Well, yeah, if you can, I mean, definitely, as long as you, I would take them out a little more gentle, maybe though.
He didn't rip them out.
I mean, if you actually like,
Transplanted them out.
He transplanted them out of the farm.
okay, that sounds a little better. 'Cause I was like, damn, ripped them out. Maybe want to gently.
He just straight took a shovel and
That's great. That's also, yeah. If you can revert it like that, it's also in the way.
I was like, that's interesting. I heard that like last year for the first time
Well, I mean, there's
instead of clone.
who we got calling in? Folks, buddy. Oh shit! Phone does work here, I guess.
Awesome.
Broke through the security of the CIA base, dude.
There it is.
What's going on?
Oh, it was,
You're so close, you don't want to talk to
Hey,
me now?
what's up?
What's up?
What's crapping?
What's crapping, man? You're in town? Why winter rolled in today? Because you must have you came in and then I literally saw winter roll.
You always had to say some shit.
I said so earlier. I was like, it's weird. It came in around 2:30. What time did you get here?
Yeah, that's
Exactly.
this morning. Yeah, I take the overnight. I take the Amtrak in.
It's-
You guys are quiet. Hold on, let me see if I can turn my shit up.
It was. It
No,
was.
that's just what you can get.
So you're in town. So that
Yeah,
means
that's-
this will be your new home over here next week when we get you on the show. So get used to it.
That's why. Yeah, that's why I messaged you earlier and was like, I know where you live.
Oh,
But we're not getting out anywhere. Yeah, we just got in literally this morning and fucking been hanging out, checking out what they got going on and documenting a little bit and seeing how everything's going. Taking a break, relaxing, enjoying the environment.
Well, like I said, we're going to get you over this side. What's going on with the...
Yeah, I was just calling to say hi. I seen you had before. We were watching the show. That's why I figured I'd just wait
figured you
and
would.
say hi later.
I figured you would, and I already tried to call you out a few times, but you didn't bite. So I see you took your time, which is nice.
Well, yeah, John. Well, no, yeah, John don't usually tune in, so we were here, and we just happened to remember it was coming on just because I was going to give you a jingle to say hey.
Nice
But
that
we
you're
went
hanging
ahead
with
and turned
John.
it on.
How you doing, John? We'll let John talk after a while, so we don't have to listen to you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But yeah, get you in the studio. You guys gonna both come in or what?
I don't know if he's going to. He said he'd come, but
He doesn't have to be on the camera. He can sit. No, he can sit right over there. We can nod at us. He'll
You
nod.
can talk to him. You know what's up with him.
I know.
It's funny. It's not because of what he's got to say. It's just because he wants to be presentable, I'm sure, and he's just being self-conscious. I mean, he looks all right, but he's a little rough, but
well,
not too bad.
it's all right. You can always come to my show. I'm surrounded by nuts all the time. So it does not matter. It does not matter. Well, cool. So, like I said, next week will be 420 in studio. So people could all the I want every person who he shouted out to call in. That'll be like a 2.5 day show, right?
Well, most of them can, except for the ones that are dead. So that's not gonna.
All right.
But yeah, actually, I told a couple people I'd call them from you at some point. We just if they didn't call in, I was going to call them anyway. Be like, fuck you. But most people know it's the situation, and everybody's kind of busy here this next month or two too. So because it's getting towards the end of the season. So
yes, sir.
we'll just see what
That's
happens.
crazy.
I'm going to be I'm here mainly to get things happening with Justin, and if we're going to do some shows with Stu, and then
All right, that's good. What you should do is after you're hanging out with him, we'll have more stories to talk about. I'll get you guys both on the show before you leave town again with him. So we'll plan that one. We'll get you on next week.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We could
And
even
then-
show you some of what's happening, the documentation it has it happen. So hopefully, we got a nice pool of golds to dig through. So I kind of invited you into, if you want to get in it, because dude, right now I'm looking at one that's at least 18 foot, and we were standing here for an hour early trying to figure out if it was a tie or a Oaxacan. And we've come to the conclusion it's a mid-grade tie. But it looks fucking beautiful. Great structure.
18
anyway,
foot
I
tie
didn't want to
plants.
interrupt.
All right, man. We'll talk. No, like I said, we'll have you on next week. I'll save some of this.
Yep, sounds good.
Old school style only hash. All right, man. Talk soon. Peace.
Right. I was going to have John even say hey, but he's sitting there and they're doing something. So
all right.
I'll bug you next week. Sounds good.
How's that?
All right. Well, if you get bored or you get time to want to hang out or something during the week, even get a hold of me. We'll figure something out.
Okay, man. No problem. Take care, man. Peace.
Peace.
All right. Ciao.
So, Shadow's going to call in next week. So we'll have 420 in the studio, Shadow on the phone. I'll wake Doug up and tell him he's off the hook. So
It's going to be a big show.
Yeah, and then half of them are not going to show up. That's how it goes right here. You never know. You never know on the Adam Dunn show.
I won't be here next week either.
See, this is why we needed you here this week. So.
Yeah, man.
Yep,
Yeah,
I'm glad I was able to make it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'll be at my farm in Oregon this next week. I'm actually pretty pumped. I'm going to be taking my toy hauler from here in Colorado, rolling out to Oregon on Monday afternoon, joining my friend at our farm to go harvest, and then going to an event that we have scheduled for Key to Life, which is, it's actually pretty badass. It is a 20-acre piece of property that he put 20 10,000 square foot grow cannabis facilities. It's on my Instagram. Check it out.
Really?
It's pretty badass. And he put AC and nice foundations and like nice parking for them. We're
really
actually
clean.
throwing a pizza party there. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to head back to Portland and go finish harvesting and maybe even go out to the dunes and go ride my bikes while I'm out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to come bring my buddy back here to Colorado and then to the Colorado Harvest Separation Services it is.
Sounds good. Yeah, it's all over it's crazy how now it's in about 19 states, so it's, it's become an actual, mini industry in itself. But like we said, there's not enough processing yet, but soon come we'll have enough people, coming down on the CBD, working more on maybe food seeds, because Canada does 90. They produce most of the seed.
The grain.
Yeah, most of the stuff that people eat as far as food goes, and in a weird way, we just didn't even go that route at all. We just said fuck that. We won't go. Everybody here is like
isolate and flower and full spectrum. And,
exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Chasing unicorns, like
chasing unicorns all day.
yeah, it'll last another couple of years, and then that will sort of balance out. People will get keyed up and for real.
Well, the demand is so much bigger. It's going to create, like, for example, last year Colorado was at 20,000 acres. This year at 200,000.
Yeah.
And the amount of extractors that are available to even process, even Colorado alone, it would take like multiple years with the amount of extractors that are available
and their efficiency.
Yeah.
Like most of, there's not too many extraction
Right.
of ethanol or CO2 that are doing over,
1,000 a day. Right?
well, even we found one that was 10,000 a day.
Right.
10,000 a day is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
But you need to be able to do almost 10,000 an hour to keep up with the hemp game demand.
When you're talking in millions of pounds of biomass, I mean you're gonna need, it would take years to do it at that rate.
Right. Yeah. No. It's definitely right now like mining for gold, but it's working. You know what I mean, for the moment, but it'll
balance.
It'll balance out because of the cost effectiveness and stuff.
Yep.
Which, we're also seeing different countries coming in online and making it so. Then you get into the cost of labor, and you can't really compete with that. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, right now there's a little niche going on with Colorado also, as far as being a little bit ahead of everybody else, maybe like by 3-4 years. Everybody's kind of in their first year or second year. But
This is my third year being involved, but the past 2 years, it was like 10% of the focus that I have right now, probably even 5%. Very, very low amount of focus because cannabis and THC game, But hemp is definitely snowballing hard right now.
Absolutely.
sure, and it's cool to see an industry grow that's like you can step away from it a little bit, because the fact that I think the biggest problem I've had has been falling in love with every crop I've ever grown and be like,
Oh, yeah.
this ain't going anyway. Like, and then occasionally if it
Head
gets
smash. Head
yeah, and that's like the worst thing as a grower. Is never made any money. Like just like always grew in a way, but mostly just give clones to people or something and work a deal. Like let them do it, because if the minute so whatever I'm going, it's for myself anyway, mostly.
Yep. Yep.
But now with hemp, you can kind of like disassociate yourself a little bit.
It is totally
you're
disassociating.
You're like, oh, cool, look, there's a huge field. And even though you walk through it, occasionally you'll see shit, you're like, ooh, that looks like it's going to be good. You just kind of take it for granted. It's not going to be good, because you know it's in there. But it's cool also to see those things turn into real products that are like
amazing.
Going to be, and they're like the tip. And a lot of them haven't even really thought about it. There's like so many more. The plastics, things like that, haven't really been utilized. There's a lot of material kind of coming around now. It's not quite there yet, but it's going to be soon.
I was talking with one of my friends in Tennessee at the farm tour last week, and we were talking about how, at the end of the day, fast forward, once this shit gets put into textiles and energy and fuel and all these different things that you can do, it's going to almost be like the human consumption aspect, whether it goes in your hair or your skin or in your body, is going to probably be like 10% of the hemp game.
Yeah.
Because think about the amount of stuff that you can do.
Oh yeah. It'll be. It could depending on who as far as accessibility, there'll be even more than that. It'll be like it'll start to get weird. Where you're like, wait a minute. So this is made out of hemp, and I'm eating hemp, and I'm wearing hemp, they're putting hemp on me. Got hemp in my hair. It's like a lot of hemp. It's like hemp everywhere, you know what I mean? So they may not be all pure hemp, of course, but for the most part, they're all in those things, and that's already there. Just if you want it, you can go buy it. So it's available, so it's possible. But it's one of those when it gets to the point where it just comes with hemp, and there's not really a hype. It's not.
Do you want the regular menu or the hemp menu?
Yeah, that can be there, but also just like product-wise, it'll get to that kind of like there's going to be so much CBD out there that's going to be like falling into shampoos and things like that just for the hell of it, because they can put it on the label. They'll be like, all right, if I got 2 million bottles. I need a kilo. And you're like, really? They're like, yeah, that's all I need. Is enough to make a drop in each one. Like, drop, it's got a drop. They don't care. There'll be products like that out there that won't put anything but like a single drop in and just be like, with CBD, wow, 2 million. Then they'll make up some numbers or some bullshit. But at the same time, there'll be other legit products, which there already are. If you go to Whole Foods and kind of on a certain, like during June when they do Hemp Week, they have an end cap always. Usually at the shop, and then kind of
it's like everything.
And you're like end cap plus more, and you're like, okay, this is definitely. And they're all there. They're just in different spots usually. But
that's the beta tester for civilization.
Well,
transitioning to hemp.
Well, and I for one, if I see hemp bread or I see a hemp product, I'll always grab it. But it's not, it's not quite there yet. It's like maybe. We're just tapping at the bottom, but we have all this. When people aren't just making CBD and they're actually making enough for food and for other things. There's a couple guys here in Colorado that were doing the shelled hemp seeds, which was it's just buying the machine for it, once again, and growing seed in the first place, which I was pretty impressed just knowing at least somebody's doing it. But that's actually before anybody thought about CBD, the highest production value per acre would be grain, because it's something you can make, sell it by the kilo.
Oh, it's so popular in Europe to grow hemp for grain, straight up. The deciduous strains, or however you pronounce it. Dacious, yeah. Dacious.
I think. I don't know. Don't ask me if that's right.
You were over there, so you probably heard it more.
but if you, but if you work with grains in general, whether it be a guy making seeds or it's a very easy thing to work with. So you can already see how it would make sense in post-apocalyptic days or any day. You'd be like, all right, I know that there's inherent value in each one of these fucking things right here. Right. I got 6 of them or I got 10 of them, and they could be worth $1 million. They could be worth $10. They could be whatever it is at that moment. But it's still those fucking same amount of things. So I'm always stoked about that. Just being a guy, and I'm sure you are too now, because once you see like 8,000 kilos of seeds, and that they went somewhere. You're like, and they went in the ground.
It's a fun type.
Well, just knowing they went somewhere and went in the ground, you're like, oh, that's cool. So because
exactly.
you know how much damage each kilo or pound makes or whatever.
It's funny too, because on some end you end up selling these bags of seeds, and it's like, oh, there's a 2-pound bag and a 2-pound bag and a 6-pound bag that somebody bought and another 10-pound bag or whatever.
Right. And they all go and spread out.
And it spreads out everywhere. And you start going to these places, you're like, those little bags made all this? Holy crap.
Exactly.
Like, we went to Oregon, and there's well over 1,000 acres of our cherry and abacus being grown out there. And we just kept going to these huge farms. I went to the littlest one was 190 acres.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Exactly, and that's like, I've had times where people tell me about like whole valleys and shit grown with THCs, and I'm just kind of like thinking to myself like, crazy, because then or like islands. I had islands that would only had chocolate chunk for fucking 20 years or something.
Right.
Guy had this one mom. He made clones. He had a grow shop, and he sold it to every single person in Mallorca. And every single, chocolate chunk. He's like, I got that from you, and it's like just so funny because I thought about it later. I was like, so everybody on that fucking island has been smoking that for 20 years since that guy bought that one thing from me, which I lost a long time ago, and it was funny.
That's so good. Yeah, it's crazy how it perpetuates very fast into like lifestyle. Like this little thing brings all this life,
Yeah, and I mean now it's getting a little bit ridiculous with this flip over and stuff, but it was interesting to track certain things and certain changes that you would create. Like I had guys that would buy seeds at my shop in Amsterdam and then go back to their spot and then crush, and they'd be in some little zone, and there'd be a legend of a dude that the guy got the seeds from, which was about me, but I didn't know it was about me. And he was telling me the story, and I was all, oh, really? He's like, yeah, the guy with the golden hair, right? Sold him the seeds. And I'm like, who's the fuck's the guy with the golden hair? And then he's like, yeah. And then everybody was looking at me and his crew, and they were going, like, whispering to each other. And I was like, they're like, they want to know if you're the guy with the golden hair. And I had, like, green hair at the time, and I was like, oh, I guess when I sold him the seeds, I had blonde hair for a minute in between some color change or some bullshit. But it was just so funny because he bought the seeds from me, went back and said some dude with fucking golden hair sold me these seeds and turned into this little legend. Of the man with the golden hair. When he was telling me, and I was like, that's weird. Guy with golden hair, that guy sounds cool. Who's that guy? Like, you're the guy. No. It was hilarious. But yeah, when you work with things like that you don't realize when people do it right, they fucking, it's unbelievable. You're like, holy shit. Because you almost expect the failure. It's like I've seen a lot of that where people want to show you something and you get all excited and you get there and you're like, what happened here? It's all packed and tight and terrible and dead. Like there's a lot of issues.
That happens like 40% of the time, it seems like.
Right.
Sometimes, You're like, especially with random gardens. Like I got drove out to a random garden while I was in Portland about a month ago of somebody who wanted to try our genetics this next year. Come on out, check out our setup, see what you can do, blah blah blah. And I was like, I was in there for 5 minutes and I'm out front calling people and shit.
The gardens, you just walk into and you just know, like.
But then there's the exact opposite too, and when the dudes roll through with the baller gardens, it's good. Usually you're like, word, this dude's gonna have some dope shit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, it depends now too. What people like, I'm always really, if you go to like Oregon or something like that, and you see outdoors, and you see like what humidity and what certain conditions.
Way different.
Like, you're like,
Way
these things can just be that big, and not, here it's like a struggle to do anything anywhere big, which is kind of a shame just because they have limited plant count and it's all lame. So that kind of, you can't do outdoors, and so you kind of see everything getting kind of weaker as far as being able to express itself here in Colorado.
Well, it's just like general agriculture. It's going to end up going coastal to all the agricultural dominant areas where the wine is grown, where the peaches, almonds, grapes, everything.
Well, it's one of those types of crops that, it's like you said at the beginning, it's people think it's one of those things where you just plant the seed and it's all just this one thing. It can be a craft crop if you really put the effort into it and put the science behind it and do the work, to find, what you want out of it.
Yep. And the main thing I think is just like super healthy clones or moms or first moms, clones or seedlings. Just there is your most important issue, and then veg should be should wherever it goes into, whatever indoors, outdoors, whatever. The veg part hopefully should just be the remote control at that point, and then the flower is like where you have to kind of know when to stop, and that's pretty much there's like a few things obviously along the way that and a lot of foliar and timing and with that, and just touching them and fucking getting in there when you can, and then at a certain point you're saying fuck it, and then it's a weird little.
It's a balance for sure.
If you fuck around with them too much, they don't yield any better. You know what I mean? It's like at a certain point it's like whatever, fucked up.
Which it's like back in the hobby days, you could fuck with them all you wanted.
Sure.
But commercially, how everything's going,
Yeah, so it gets. And that's what we were talking about before with the people growing a lot of monoculture things from clone, and if you get problems with that, it's especially if you get bad, just kind of a couple steps here and there before you did it, and you don't realize it, and then it kind of it rears its ugly head when you have one issue and they all get in. It's like
well, it was like last week in Tennessee, the dude had the one cherry strain. And it got a bunch of botrytis, but the other crop had nothing because there's two completely different styles of crops.
Right next to each other.
He minimized his risk a little bit.
Just because the phenos one was resistant.
Well, he threw a late Sue, late Harley Sue strain, which is like super sativa. There's pictures of it on my Instagram. Like super sativa, barely had bud set even still.
Right.
And then the entire cherry field was all chunks. And that was the one that didn't like the rain from the last week or whatever.
Yeah.
And so the late suicide had nothing, though. So he's going to be able to rebound because he diversified his crop instead of monoculture.
Cool. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
And I've had that a lot of times where in a room I'll have one plant that's just like leaning on the other one, all powdery mildewed out. And it'll be like, normally that other one should have got, maybe it got a little bit, but the rest of the plant is fucking just holding it off, no problem.
Or it's Durban poison and it's like, no PM ever. That thing is crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of ones like HP 13 was like that back in Amsterdam. There was like the plant that grew great, but then it had this like kind of blue-green color to it, and I knew that if it got like just the wrong weird temperature swing or something, all of a sudden it would just go woof, and you'd be like, oh my God. And I gave it to so many people as a clone at one point, and somebody gave me like, a couple hundred clones, and I gave them to people, and I just remember every single person that gave it back to me, because they all, a lot of people never seen it before, so they were just like all excited, like they thought it was good. It's all white, you know what I mean? I was like, because it grew like just enough powdery mildew to not be blowing out yet, but enough that if you knew it, and you're like, oh my God, this is terrible, you know what I mean? And you were like, oh. I opened up some, and it was just like that kind of weird, that smell is like,
so bad.
kind of soury, milky in a weird way, but it's kind of like horrible. And once you know it, it gets in the back of your throat. You're like, oh. So when I go to rooms, and I mean, yeah, especially if it's West Coast, I got a lot of that. Like when I was in Seattle, going to rooms that were like big, they still made them out of wood, a lot of exposed wood, and then
the clean room trend is nice for sure.
Yeah, this was like just sweaty, it's so sweaty. You'd be like, oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, like you said, I mean, as the money comes in, to the industry, we're going to have more luxury like that to be able to do nicer, bigger, cleaner greenhouses, all that type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be real important for, healthy crops and healthy farming in the future.
Kyle and I saw one of the most crazy, hermaphroditically sealed greenhouses in Oregon.
Did you say hermaphroditic?
Or what, the term. Hermetically sealed. Hermetically sealed.
Hermaphroditically sealed.
I was thinking about Hermes still from hemp plants.
I like that.
We got a new term.
Yeah, it was the most.
I saw that for you.
It was the most. I think it was the.
Hermaphrodite.
It was probably the most money per square foot in a greenhouse that I've ever seen by a lot. I mean they had. I mean it
by a lot.
You could.
It was only a 20,000 square foot greenhouse facility, and the amount of money these cats spent on that thing was mind blowing.
It was impossible.
What do you got here? Some old school?
Old school. Yeah. Old school. It's a year old.
It's been a minute on one of those.
I know. That's why I got one of these for doing a test of other weed. You see how much I cleaned it to it. And
no, the old school hash. It's been like all right. It's been a minute since I've smoked old school hash. I like it. Bring it back.
Right. Exactly. And this is just made from. There's two different kinds. There's that one, which is like that one.
Nice.
And all it is from I was saying earlier. When I separate my seeds, they fall into a cooler, which I put a screen on top. So it's like after going through a shitload, I'll get a little bit and a kind of green and not so great, and I'll just put it in wax paper, stick it in a jar, and then seal it up like a mason jar, and I put it away. Forgot about it for a year, and I went back, and they all of a sudden looked like this, and I was like, what the hell? like they all look different. One was dark black, one was more a little more resiny. This one's got a little tiny bit more bubble. They were both shitty as far as the chafe off of the bottom of seeds, basically. So there was not the primo flower. There was no flower. There was just seeds falling, and occasionally a little bit of weed. You know what I mean? And then a little bit of resin, and then clean it up.
Right. What'd you think of that peanut butter breath?
Good, real
so
good. Yeah.
So fire. Mm-hmm. My buddy crushed that.
That's what's the cross on that?
Mendo breath and peanut butter breath.
Peanut butter breath?
And Mendo breath.
Oh.
Or peanut butter and Mendo breath. Sorry.
God, and it's peanut butter breath.
Peanut butter breath. There
gotcha.
we go. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's actually my buddy's strain. I've never had the chance to grow it, and he uses our products, and he's my really good buddy. He just shows up randomly. He's like, "Here you go," and hooks all of us up. And
I like it. No, it's got a lot of flavor. It's kind of minty.
Yeah,
it's got like some real.
It's definitely got that breath, though.
Yeah,
like that.
No, I like it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like it. No, it's definitely. It has the expansion that you think like right away. You're like exactly like when if you call that something breath, and it actually has a little bit of a reaction where you're like. All right. It works, It's I always think with strains, if they name them with any like it's kind of like puppies. Like if you get a puppy and you name it before you ever fucking know what it looks like or it acts like, oh look, it's it's super cute. And it comes home and it's fucking just off the wall,
Terror.
crazy.
Yeah.
And you called it, something all passive and shit.
Precious.
And you're like,
This is precious. She just ate a hole in my door today.
And it'd be better if they waited until they saw the dog run around. The same with the weed. Like it's either how it grows, or what it tastes like, or how it makes people react. Or there's always like something that catches. And when it does work, and it's like
It's fire.
then you have it makes sense. I mean, I like when it does that. So
The expansion's key.
so that would have a definite.
Yep.
The breath.
Yep.
The breath.
And then I think I got some squish rolled up.
He grows aquaponically too. He does a lot of aquaponic stuff. He does a lot of pure organic
I
stuff.
think this
Thought I
was, out
tasted
of,
fish.
this was out of living soil.
Was that the living stuff? Okay, yeah. He's got a whole bunch of different stuff he plays with. It's really cool stuff, and he's really good at what he does.
Aquaponics is definitely one of those things where I guess if you dial it, I think for cloning, no problem.
Badass.
I don't
Yep.
know for flowering. It's like
It-
induction lighting and some aquaponics, and you're hooked up. You got the hookup, right? That's your thing. I'll be
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, what up? I'm
Yeah.
against everybody.
Super sustainable.
With foil,
Yeah.
foil helmets,
and rolling back to the
I
CIA
think that's
building.
it.
into
Yeah.
the CIA, yeah, exactly. In the back of the CIA building with foil helmets.
He's only got a couple things he does that with. Yeah, it's cool stuff like you say to play with, but not for anything to really.
I've seen some of my buddies do some pretty impressive work on aquaponics,
Yeah.
but you've got to do like double root zone and triple root zone and crazy stuff. And you got to know exactly what you're doing at that point.
Yeah.
You're managing fish as well, which is cool,
Yeah.
but it's a whole nother thing to manage.
Exactly, and I mean the kind of like cross contamination when you're talking about that too. It's kind of like it's a lot of like, do you really want to smoke that? Like it's like at that point, even though it's fish only, it's like it's pretty dirty, at a certain point because it's not the. A lot of times it's more swampy and weird and not really exactly what it wants. It's like it's kind of like you definitely.
It definitely can.
What-
It changes it a little.
Yeah,
bit.
when it gets out, you've seen them out of control, like you say, that are just like you can't see through the bucket on the side of them, and they're just it's like a swamp hole. Yeah. So some of those, but
And it's hard not to do that in some way, shape, or form because it's almost like when you go to a aquarium or not even aquarium, but you go to a amusement place that does fish. It's like they all smell the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You walk in, you're like, oh yeah,
Fish
yeah. They all have the same smell.
Yeah.
So
living
How do
soil's
you
still
feel?
my
Yeah. How do you
favorite.
feel about living soil? I mean,
I think if you have the right conditions, it makes the most sense in the world because if you're going to do living soil, you have to be kind of dedicated. You can't kind of do
Right.
half and half and living with a little bit of food here and there and whatever. So you really want to,
Living plus tea is the best.
yeah. And then I think that's the most remote control for sure.
exactly.
And then, I mean, you guys have some other top dress that you would put besides the teas, or just kind of.
Yeah, I'd
Recharge,
amend a
kinda
little.
like that recharge product those guys made back in the day, or something like that.
Yeah, Scotty over there, he's the man too. He's actually up in Fort Collins. I'm basically from Fort Collins as well, so I got respect for that product. For
That was
sure.
good. That was a good one.
Yeah.
Well, it really depends on the soil content. I mean, but as far as what do they have in the soil that's slow breakdown? What do they have in the soil that's fast breakdown? What do they have? You know, so that way you can know whether or not you have to at some point add the hard macro or micronutrient or whatever you may be lacking in the system.
Sure. Yeah, and it's gonna be interesting. We're gonna be doing some stuff down south, which we're gonna check that soil. It's gonna be different for sure.
A whole new loamy style soil to work with. I bet. Is it a lot of? What is it down there?
Well, we're in the jungle, kind of edge almost. It's a weird. We're 1,600 meters though, so we're up high
Nice.
compared to. I mean, there's a lot of places that I saw we're doing down low, kind of swampy, and when it
Harder
rains,
to
it rains.
control.
When it rains hard there. You know what I mean? So
Right.
you kind of want to be up a little bit if you can.
If you can
As
get
long
it.
as this is all Colombia we're talking about. In case you're wondering.
I almost wore my Columbia farmer hat tonight.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're gonna be going to Columbia soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's so much going over all around the world. You know, that's the cool part about hemp. You know, like
Jamaica. Yeah, Jamaica's doing a lot. I mean, it's weird because like I got another request recently from Hawaii, also doing 500 acres, and I'm like, whew, dangerous. You know.
What island?
They do all sorts of islands. It was
fun.
Probably not 500 acres all in one spot.
No, they're gonna break it all up.
Yeah.
Nice.
But that was all for him. I think CBD hemp they're going for too. So
Really?
Sweet.
it's interesting. Right? So it'll probably grow there.
Oh yeah.
I think
It might.
Oh yeah.
It might.
Well, Hawaii is so crazy. Like every 2 miles, you have a completely different atmosphere and ecosphere and everything.
Yeah, it's definitely it's similar down there too because you're kind of in the zone.
Yeah, you can change zones fast. That's for sure.
So I think we're winding up pretty soon.
Nice.
We want to do some shout outs at all.
Shout out to the homie Kyle over here. This dude's been crushing it.
Yeah, our
here at
Kyle
Keto
ran
Life.
away. Our Kyle ran away. We had the double Kyles going on before.
Double Kyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was good to have you on the show, and I'm sure now that we're here in your home, we'll be calling for you because I don't think the other Kyle will make it on every. This is a once in a lifetime experience right now to have the two Kyles. So I'm surprised we're missing out.
Yeah, next time we're gonna deck it out. I promise. It's gonna be nice.
It was beautiful. And obviously, shout out to you, Tate, and Keto Life crew here.
Thank you.
We'll bring in any as the show goes along. We're gonna have next week. We have 420, so that's obvious. he'll be here making his appearance, and so but you're gonna be out of town.
Yep.
You're hanging around.
Yep.
MTI will be here. And I'll be here myself, and so shout outs to give the name of give all the Instagram accounts, all that kind of stuff.
Also, I just want to throw a shout out to my daughter. It's her first birthday today.
Happy birthday!
First birthday for little Lydia.
Oh, number one.
Yeah, she's my second kiddo. And also shout out to my wife. Yesterday was our 4th year anniversary. I don't know how she's put up with me this whole time. I married way out of my league.
And shouts out to Tegan.
Haven't we all?
Shout out to my little boy Tegan for sure.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Love the family.
Yep.
Yep. Shout out to my beautiful wife Cece and little Nick, who is now hanging out right now with his buddy Jackie, and it's fun. Yeah, my kid's 6 now too, so he's I always liked arts and crafts as a kid, and making up things and building stuff, and so I've been trying to do that as much as possible. Now he's like, it's starting to be like I don't have to do it anymore too much, a little bit on the side, just compete a little bit, but he starts to get real like, whoa, you just made a what? Yeah, I just made this thing, and like pretty, he's getting on it. He's like mechanic. He's like all of a sudden he's in.
All super engineering.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Beyond the Legos, but even with the Legos, but also making up his own stuff, which is
That's legit.
the whole key.
Feed that too.
Shout out to my mom Ace, and so we'll talk next week. And
shout out to my homies out in Oregon, the Widespread Hemp Farm, at Widespread Hemp on Instagram. That's actually my partner farm and my really good friends that I'm actually heading out to go see here this next week. Also, shout out to Devin at Keto Life up in Corvallis, Oregon. I'm going to be seeing him this next week on the farm tour at Troutman Farms as well.
Nice. All right, guys. Talk next week, and we'll keep it rolling. Peace.
Thank you very much.
out.
Peace.
Practically every one of the top 40 records being played on every radio station in the United States is a communication to the children to take a trip, to cop out, to groove. The psychedelic jackets on the record albums have their own hidden symbols.
This is a special question. We don't want you to smoke genetically modified ganja. We want you to smoke the real thing. We want you to smoke the natural herb. Some call it marijuana, some call it sensimedia, some call it lamb's bread, and some people call it ganja.